What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here. How is your Saturday going? I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're enjoying yourself and getting the relaxation that you so deserve. If you are so inclined, come on a trip back with me to the year 2004, where we'll revisit my D&D 3.5e campaign. We've covered two videos on it so far, and we ended last session with our party about to enter into a forest. My character being a druid should feel right at home, right? Maybe not. Before we dive into that, though, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. Magic Spoon are here to continue with us on our Saturday morning nostalgia trip. So, again, you've heard me talk about Magic Spoon before, but this is cereal reinvented. High protein, keto friendly, gluten free, grain free, soy free, wheat free, naturally flavored. It is a high protein, high quality, filling cereal that gives you kind of all of the nostalgia and flavor of the sugary cereals that we had growing up, but actually now with no sugar and instead high protein. Again, the one that I have here in hand is peanut butter. This is my favorite flavor in the variety pack that you can get over on the Magic Spoon website. But if you were actually to head over there, you can pick up the standard variety pack, which again contains peanut butter, fruity, frosted, and cocoa. But you can also build your own and pick from some of the other flavors they have, like maple waffle, birthday cake, or the new seasonal flavor, pumpkin. But if you'd like to go ahead and pick up, by the way, as I've said before, it's great to just eat this raw out of the box. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning for me. I need a late light snack. I can get a guilt-free, high-protein snack. So, anyway, click the link down below to grab a variety pack for yourself. Be sure to use the promo code NERDIMMERSION at checkout. You get $5 off any order. Or go to magicspoon.com/nerdimmersion. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code that's somewhere here on screen and use the code NERDIMMERSION for $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/nerdimmersion to save $5 today. Thank you again to our good friends at Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video. So, a thing that I did forget to mention that I do want to bring up because it will come into play towards the end of this story is that one of the characters, our monk character, Torin, him and obviously his player, had, it kind of became a focus at the tavern in the kind of original area we were in, and then any kind of other tavern that we kind of made our way through over the course of the adventures thus far, which wasn't too many, but it was enough to become a pattern. And he had this thing where he would try to pick up a chick at the whatever that case is. So he would always ask the DM, are there any girls there? And then would do his best to try and woo one of them, and then ultimately every time fail. So this became a thing. It was kind of like a recurring thing. I made I'll be silly, get my character drunk on the first game, and then his character's thing seemed to be every time we went to a town was to go to the town and then see if he could pick up a chick at the bar. It didn't work. It kind of became almost like we didn't know what memes were back then because it didn't exist, but it was kind of a meme of our game that he would just strike out at whatever tavern we went to. But you just need to know that because that will become important later. So, anyway, cut back to the forest. So, we are about to enter into this forest. We have our guide Gregor. We're going to head in with our cart and make our way into the forest. Now, if I'm being honest, the majority of this, I remember a few snippets of what happened in the forest, but ultimately, I was really enjoying this a lot because I felt like my character had a lot to do, being the druid of the party, being a person who was specifically knowledgeable about things like nature and animals. And we had traveled through the forest for about a day, and everything seemed relatively normal. I think we fought some giant bugs. We fought, I think, some giant centipedes or giant wasps. Whatever, standard kind of fun little combat. Nothing too threatening of any kind, right? And then I think we may have fought some wolves or something. I think I tried to talk them down, but it wasn't happening. I flubbed my rolls. But what became more and more interesting is I kept being aware, as the druid or the DM informed me of this, that something was off. And like, I started keeping track of the time, like trying to keep track of like the daylight hours and things. And something was off about this forest. It had some sort of like, well, I didn't know it at the time, but I guess some sort of like temporal disturbance where we were spending significantly more time in here than we actually realized. We did end up fighting against some, I want to say they were either orcs or goblins at some point, because I remember I snuck into their camp as a horse, so that we could then like get the drop on them, or I could pick up information. Um, but ultimately we ended up fighting them. I don't think we got some loot off of them, but nothing of note. And we started to make our way out. And I don't remember exactly what I figured out, but I let everyone know, like, hey, we need to get out of here. Something's off. We're spending, like, time is funky in here. I don't know what's going on. So, through trials and tribulations, we eventually make our way out of the forest and head towards the town where we know we're going to have to meet with the kind of king of that town to deliver the war declaration that we're bringing from the other town. So we end up making our way into the town, but we find out that what we thought was like 3 days in the forest was like 7 days in the forest. So we're also in a very weird spot because we don't really know the political landscape at this point, because they send a declaration of war to the other city, and then they were sending one back, and now a whole 7 days has passed and nothing's happened. So we end up making our way into this city, and it's a pretty sizable city because we end up going and staying at a couple of different taverns over time. And what ultimately happens here is we make our way to one tavern. We end up staying there for the night. We're again trying to figure out what we're gonna do, where we're gonna go. We have to set up our meeting with the king, plan that all out. Our friend Torin goes and strikes out yet again at a bar. And then we all rest for the night because our meeting's going to be, I think, in like 2 days' time. The meeting with the king is going to happen. So it goes to the next day, and it kind of becomes the next evening. We're going to meet with the king on the following day, and we find ourselves yet again in a bar. And before we go to the bar, Torin, our monk, says, "Hey, I've got basically the party gold. Do you guys mind if I like go looking around the town? Maybe I could pick us up some good stuff, like magic items or something." And it wasn't much gold. It was like 2,000 gold, but it's a decent amount for like level 6, level 7 characters. So we say, sure, go ahead, take it. So then we're all just kind of hanging out, drinking in the bar. I think I was out trying to commune with nature just because it seemed like a thing my character would do. Or you know what? I had to keep Bob outside of the city. That's what it was. So I had to go out. I was just checking on him, making sure he was okay. And our friend Torin, who goes over to this shop, he asks the shopkeeper, "I've got 2,000 gold. What magic items do you have?" And the shopkeeper goes, "Well, I have this flute." And he goes, "How much is it?" And he goes, 2,000 gold. And he says, "Great, I'll buy it." Now, I'm sure you noticed the issue there. Nowhere did he ask what the flute is or if he could use it or anything of that. And the guy just told him it was 2,000 gold, so he bought it. So he's just like, thanks, and he just left the shop. So he goes to the bar where we are all going to meet, and he just goes inside the bar. He's trying to pick up another lady at the bar, and he decides that he's going to show her, like he's going to win her over with his epic flute skills. Now, he has no proficiency in playing flutes, but he thought that the flute was going to be magical and increase his ability to play flutes. So my character ends up coming into the bar when he's basically horribly playing the worst flute ever, and the entire bar is like getting upset, covering their ears, like, get out of here. So I like grab him and throw him out of the bar. And now the entire bar loves me. I was like, dude, stop it. Get out of here. I toss him out of the bar. Everybody is in love with me. They're like, hey, let's get this guy some drinks, And I was just like, you know what? For the hell of it, DM, I'm going to try to also Like, you told us that that bartender was cute. I'm gonna hit on that bartender. So that ended up being what happened. I ended up spending some time with that bartender. We woke up in the morning and she was just like, "You're an adventurer, right? That sounds like a really interesting lifestyle. Would you mind if I come along with you?" And I was like, "That's fine. Sure." And she's like, "Would it be cool if my brother comes too?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? More the merrier." Not checking this with the party at all because you'll learn that that kind of becomes my character's thing where he just kind of adopts people. Uh, so eventually we go back and we all gather up as a party and I'm like, "Hi, this is Althea, I think was her name. I have her character sheet around here somewhere. And her brother's name was Jareth, that I remember. And we're just talking. It's like, yeah, they're gonna come with us now, and everybody's like, I guess that's okay. And we're like, hey, what was up with the flute playing yesterday? And Torin says, yeah, I bought this magic flute, guys. I bought it from a magic shop. And we're like, cool, how much did you spend on it? He's like, all of our gold. And we're like, what does it do? And he says, oh, I don't actually know what it does. And we all kind of have like, wait a minute. You spent all of our gold on a magic flute and you don't even know what it does? And he's like, well, let's go back to the shop where I bought it and we'll ask the guy, what it is. Okay, so we go back to the shop and the guy's like, oh, hey, friend, good to see you again. And it's like, you sold me this magic flute yesterday. What does it do? And he's like, oh, it gives you a +4 bonus to not be afraid of trees. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, so. But he's like, but here's the thing. If you weren't afraid of trees before, you need to play the flute now to get the +4 bonus because you might be afraid of trees, so you need the flute. And, it was all sales are final, and we didn't do anything crazy. We were just like, all right, thanks. And we all left the bar and we're like, or left the shop and we're like, well, you're done. No more money for you. You're a monk. No more magic item shopping for you. And then, yeah, we ended up having to have that flute be played in all the forests. So we go to the king on the following, later on that day, meet with him, provide the declaration of war from the other city. And he's like, I can't believe they would do this. And we're like, yeah, I don't know. We're like, you should probably seek out some allies to help you in the fight against this other kingdom. And he's like, well, I do have some contacts in the other, like the major city. Like, this is like a smaller town. Like, there's a big major city a little ride away. And he's like, I could set something up for you to meet someone over there and they'll provide you information for how we can gather assets and resources from there. And we're like, sure, we'll take that job, whatever. Who's the guy? And he gives us a name, where to meet him. Okay, cool. So we kind of just go back and we're just kind of spending some time in the city. We didn't have any, he said his contact wasn't going to be there for a couple days. So we've got some time to kill. So we actually got to spend some downtime in the city, got to meet, get to learn a little bit more about Althea and Jareth. Turns out Althea was a wizard, a very low level, kind of illusion based wizard. And Jareth was a rogue. But Jareth had almost more like kleptomania than true roguish natures. Like, he would steal stuff for us, but it was just like random stuff that he would find. Like, I remember one day he came back and I had to treat his stomach for 3rd-degree burns because he had stolen 2 arrows, a fork, and an entire cooked turkey. And he just stuffed the turkey under his shirt, like the hot oil-covered turkey, stole it off a spit and stuffed it under his shirt and brought it back to the bar. So I had to heal his stomach from all the burns on it. That was the kind of people that I invited to join our party. So long story short, we spend time, we get to know each other, we're hanging out. We're eventually going to get up. We know we're going to get going soon, but we're just kind of enjoying the downtime here. And then one morning, our sorcerer friend decides to go out of the bar and go out into the street in the alleyway between the bar and something else and just take a leak. Pee in the alleyway on some crates. And some old man comes around the corner and starts yelling at him, saying, hey, you're not allowed to do that. I'm going to call the guards. And now, mind you, the rest of the party is asleep. He decides in that moment that he's going to cast Burning Hands and kill this old man. This is when you start to figure out that this party is a lot more murder hobo than true, benevolent adventurer. But what he does before he shoots the Burning Hands, he also summons a giant centipede next to the guy and casts Burning Hands, so that if anybody they saw a giant centipede and that he was trying to kill the giant centipede, and the old man kind of was, collateral damage. And then, as people start asking about this, he uses his ridiculously high diplomacy stat for being a half nymph to rally the entire town that the giant centipede that came and assaulted that old man came from that evil forest that was right over on the hill. We should go burn down the evil forest. And then, the town is like, yeah, sure. And they kind of all get rallied up into a mob mentality. He kind of, pops his head in the bar where we're staying. He's like, come on, guys, we're burning down the evil forest. And everybody looks at me, and I was like, well, it's an evil forest, so I feel like that's okay. And we make our way to the forest, and we have a whole mob, town mob. There's people brought horses. They got all this stuff. And they basically, the first person sets a torch to the forest, and the fire starts to pick up and burn. And then all of a sudden, we hear this massive roar from inside the forest, and the trees start shaking left and right, and things are going crazy. And our party's like, time to go, I guess. So we all just start feeting out of there. It's chaos at this point. People are running, horses are going everywhere. My character had a ridiculously high ride skill, so I grab a horse and do, my best kind of Legolas flip up onto the horse. And then as I'm riding by, I grab Althea and kind of swing her up on the back of my horse. And because my ride skill is so good, it was somewhere in the high 20s because I took feats that boosted it. Because ultimately, I was planning for what my character would do when he was in epic levels to be able to turn into a dragon. So I grabbed another horse and threw Jareth on a horse, and we all basically got on horses and just rode out of town, Gregor included. And all I remember is as we're leaving town, heading towards the next big city where we're going to meet our next contact for our next job, that our sorcerer decides to use Scorching Ray to write poop on a thatched roof of a house, and then with an arrow pointing in the direction we're going. And then we just left and made our way towards the next major town and the sort of next major chapter of our adventure. This city was massive. This is a Waterdeep sized city for those of you fans of 5e or Forgotten Realms rather. Where we could do a lot in this city, and we did spend a large portion of our adventure in this city between the sewers and all of the different districts, learning and meeting and all this other kind of stuff. So this city houses a large chunk of the next few adventures. So anyway, this is it was an interesting time, right? We have a monk now who might be afraid of trees because he spent all our loot on a magic flute. I got my character a girlfriend, and we brought her brother along. And now we had extra party members, people that could help out, to take care of things, to hold down a base, to look for stuff. A wizard and a rogue added to our party of monk. And the DM was kind of handling all of these, right? He was in charge, rather, of running all these NPCs, but they were they were tied basically to my character. And like I said, you'll learn as we get into the big city that I had a thing for adopting kind of runaways to bring into our party, which may or may not have led to some big argument in game in the next couple sessions. So anyway, let me know what you think about this next D&D story time. Are you guys enjoying this? It does seem like you are, but if you want, I'll stop and we can focus on something else. But anyway, thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you all next time.